Hello everybody and welcome back to another My Porch Prints tutorials. This is Kyra and today I'm going to be showing you how to put together some simple pop-up pockets. Now this project may look familiar if you watched the page decorating tutorial for my Sepia and Ivory junk journal. I made this little pop-up pockets for that journal specifically. However, I did kind of run into a problem with these beads being a little bit thick, so I decided I would give it another go today and just try a couple of different ways of decorating these pop-up pockets and just kind of see how they turn out and what they look like, use some scraps up, all that good stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and show you 3 different ways to make and decorate these. The process is pretty quick and simple. Again, you could probably use up some scraps and do this in an afternoon. Alright, let's go ahead and get started. So I'm starting with some ribbon here and some distress ink I'm going to be using, so go ahead and put those aside. These aren't necessary, but that's what I'll be using. I also have some of these little fussy cut butterflies that I grabbed, and I will have links to all the kits used down in the description box if you're interested. A lot of these just came out of my scrap box, so I'll try my best to find those kits. But mostly I'm just kind of working with similar colors. So I have this like yellowish floral scrap as well as this kind of like warm autumn scrap. I'm just going to use this top part from this piece of paper. And I've also got this kind of like warm brown faux leather scrap paper here as well. All right, and this is going to make up the base for this first pop-up pocket. So I'm going to take a ruler and I'm going to measure out the piece that I want to use for my base, and I'm going to have it be 8.5 by 3 inches. Now you can make yours as wide as you want. This is just kind of what I ended up using as a nice number. So I'm going to measure out 3 inches and then trim it down to size here, just like this. And this is going to be our little base. And this one is just made out of plain paper. You can use cardstock or paper, it doesn't matter. I used both today. For this one specifically, just paper. And we're going to fold that piece in half, just like this. And then we're going to fold the ends back towards that center crease. All right. Again, give it a good fold, just like so. Same with the other side here. Line up the edges and crease. All right, and that's going to give us kind of like a W or an M shaped fold. See, kind of just like this. It gives us like 4 separate quadrants, if you will, for decorating. So again, it's just folding it in half and then folding the ends down. And you want to make sure that the way you fold it has the back on the inside, if that makes sense. All right, so just like this. Right, and that's our base that we are now going to decorate. So to begin decorating these 4 spaces, I'm going to be cutting out some circles. Now my largest punch is only 1.5 inches and I need a 2-inch circle to make things fit the way that I want them to. So I did find this button that just so happens to be about 2 inches, so that's what I will be using. If you have a 2-inch punch, feel free to use that, or just try to find something that is similar. So for example, a 8-ounce bottle of glue is also about 2 inches, or I found this like spool of chain that also happened to be about 2 inches. So if you look around, you should find something that is fairly close. So just use whatever you have on hand. It's okay if it's a little too small or a little too big. We just mostly want it to fit nicely in those 4 quadrants. All right, so taking my scrap, I'm going to trace around that button and make 4 separate little circles here. And I'm going to just cut those out by hand. Just take my time. And now we have these like 4 little circles that are going to be the base of our pockets. And to add a little bit of extra layers and contrast, I'm going to use that 1.5 inch punch, since it's just slightly smaller than 2 inches, and punch out 4 circles from this slightly darker paper here. And I'm going to go over everything with distress ink, again, just to make things pop a little bit more. And then we're going to glue these smaller circles down to the larger ones, and also drop them on the table and get glue everywhere, because that is part of the process. Anyway, yeah, you're just going to glue these into the inner circle. Just try to get things as straight as you can, try to center things. It's okay if they're not perfect. And then for the final layer on these, I'm going to be adding these butterflies. So I'm going to fold them in half just to give them a little bit of dimension. And then I'm going to add a dollop of glue to the center of my circle and just glue these down and just give them a little bit of dimension so they look kind of like they're landing on the little circles, you know? Kind of fun, kind of cute. All right, and now we can take our glue and I'm going to add a half circle of glue to the bottom of our pockets here. And you want to keep the line pretty thin and as close to the edge as possible, because that's going to make sure you have as much room as possible inside these little pockets for mini ephemera. And then we're going to go ahead and glue these down in the center of our 4 sections here, just like this. Just kind of try to find the middle. And once you've done that, you can also take it a bit further and glue some ribbon down to the top and bottom of your main pop-up piece. I weighed mine down with some glue bottles to help them stay like straight and flat while they dry. And then I'm gonna recrease them. And you can see this is kind of like the finished base for our pop-up pocket. And now I'm just taking some mini ephemera pieces and tags that I have, little fussy cuts, and I'm going to add them into those little pockets, just like that. All right. And for adding this to a journal, you just want to find an open spread, and you can take the like first and last sections here, add some glue to them, and glue them down to the page. You don't want to add any glue to the center sections. And you can put them anywhere you want in the journal, top, bottom, middle, doesn't really matter. It kind of just is up to personal decorative preference. You could maybe even use, like, instead of glue, you could use like Velcro or something if you want to be able to take it in and out. It's just kind of up to you. And then it just folds closed with your journal like this and pops out when it's open and stays hidden when it's closed. So yeah, it's just kind of a quick little fun project that you can add to your journal to give it a little bit of depth and movement and dimension. All right, so let's go ahead and make another one. So for the second one, I had some labels here and I decided to use those kind of as my inspiration. So as my base, I'm taking a sort of neutral cardstock print here, and then I found like a blue piece of scrap paper that I'm going to use for my actual pockets. And I'm grabbing some cheesecloth just to do a little bit of decorating with. You don't have to use this, again, it's just optional, but it's what I wanted to try to give some texture to this one. And, you know, second verse, same as the first, we're going to cut out a 3-inch strip for our base and 4 circles. For this one, I'm actually only doing 3 circles in blue, and I'm doing my final circle out of that same neutral cardstock. I kind of wanted to have like one of the pockets be kind of like an accent pocket that kind of has some contrast with the blue label, so that's what I'm doing here. And again, I went over everything with some distress ink to give it some pop. And then taking some of my cheesecloth, I'm just going to cut some small strips to glue behind my labels. So gluing them down to my little circle and then the label on top of the cheesecloth sandwiched in there, just like this. And I'm going to do that to all 4 of my pockets. And then again, just adding glue to the half circle and gluing them down into their section here. And then I have some of this blue ribbon, and it was just a little bit too thick. So what I did was I cut it down to size and then cut it in half. And I'm just going to take 1/2 and use that today. The other part can go in a scrap box somewhere. And then I'm going to pull where I cut on the fabric and just pull some threads loose and just kind of rough it up a little bit. And that's going to give me like a frayed edge. Kind of like almost like a curtain tassel looking edge here. And once I'm kind of happy with how much distress I've done, I don't want the whole thing to unravel, so just be careful of that. But I'm going to glue it to the bottom half of my pop-up pocket here, trying to get it as straight as I can. And then I'm taking some of this woven ribbon from Simplicity. It's like a braided kind of design here. And I'm going to glue that on top just to kind of hide the seam and make it look a little more finished. And then I'm going to fill it up with various little fussy cuts and ephemera. Again, I'm kind of going with colors that I feel like match the pop-up I'm making. So like I'm not going to use any orange or purple colored ephemera pieces, you know. I'm trying to stick to like neutrals and blues. and then again give it a little fold to make sure everything closes properly. And there you go, you've got another little pop-up here. I actually really liked this one. I think it would look nice at like the bottom of the page, and you could then like, you know, have the tassel at the bottom of your journal, and then you could add some more pockets or decorating up at the top if you want. Yeah, so that one was probably actually my favorite, although I really like the one we're about to make next. So for this next one, I'm grabbing some jute cord. We're going to be using like a woven sort of string here. And then I also have this piece of cardstock. I printed out one of our new scrappy papers. I just liked the colors and wanted to use it in today's project. And then from the scrap box, I have this coffee dyed paper that has like some printed script on it from a project my sister did. And then using that 1.5 inch punch, I punched out some roses from various scraps in the box that I thought looked pretty and wanted to use. And then I'm also going to be using some of these bows that we got from Amazon. They're like an ivory color. You've probably seen them before if you've subscribed to our channel and watched some of our other tutorials. And again, I'm just creating a base, a 3-inch base from that sort of pretty scrappy paper. But for this one, we're actually going to also cut a slightly smaller, like a 2-inch strip to go on the back of it. And this is going to create some extra pockets for even more ephemera to kind of layer with this piece. So once you've cut that piece, I'm going to add some glue to the sides and the bottom, again trying to stay as close to the edge as possible to give us as much room for our ephemera that we want to tuck in here as we can get. And I'm also going to add glue along each of those creases to make sure that we kind of seal off each of the individual pockets here on the back. And you don't have to go all the way to the top like I did because it's only 2 inches, so just keep that in mind. I had to wipe some of that glue off. And then you can glue the 2-inch strip down to the bottom, just like this. And try to get it centered because the more you move it, the more the glue spreads around and the less room you have for ephemera, so just kind of be careful with that. Flatten it out, and then go ahead and give it another good fold because now it's going to be a little bit thicker. We'll want to make sure that it can still fold easily. Right? And now you have some pockets on the back, so I'm going to go ahead and make sure that nothing got glued down accidentally, but you can see that you can fit even more ephemera in the back here, and it's going to make kind of a cool layered effect when everything is said and done. Alright, so once everything is dry, you can go ahead and flip it over and we can decorate the front. Again, cutting out 4 of those 2-inch circles from that little scrap I had, going over it with Distress ink, both large and smaller circles here. And I'm going to glue those small circles down to the center of the large circle, sort of similar to what we did with the butterflies here. Just glue it down like this. And then I'm actually going to, again, add the glue to the bottom half of these circles and glue them down to the center of my 4 little sections here. Just like so. And then I have that jute cord that I'm going to be using. So I'm going to just kind of roughly measure out the circumference of the largest circle using the cord here. It doesn't have to be perfect, close counts. A little bit more is better than a little bit less in this case. And I'm just going to cut it down. And then I'm going to add a piece of ephemera to the opening. In case I get glue there, I don't want to accidentally glue the pocket shut. And then I'm going to use my Fabri-Tac to make a very thin line around the very outside of that little circle here. I guess it's the larger circle, technically. And then taking the cord, I'm going to start at the bottom, and then I'm going to carefully press the cord into the glue. Just kind of slowly going here, making sure it's not moving around too much. Let it dry just a little bit, all the way around. And then if it's a little too long, you can take some scissors and cut so that the 2 ends meet perfectly. And then you can cover where those 2 ends meet with a bow, just like this. So adding a dollop of glue and gluing the bows down. And I'm going to do that to all of them, and this is kind of what it looks like when it's all done. These cute little windows here. And I was gonna add something to the top and bottom, but I realized with the bows I just didn't have enough room. You could potentially cut your base larger than 3 inches if you wanted to, like 4 or 5 inches, and that would give you some more space for decorating at the top and bottom if you're gonna do something like this. So, you know, that's entirely up to you, but today I'm just gonna kind of leave things as they are. And again, taking ephemera and filling up my little tiny pop-up pockets here, and using colors that I feel like kind of match, and using larger ephemera in the back and smaller in the front to create sort of like a nice layered effect where you can still see everything. And you don't have to use perfect square pieces. You could use fussy cut flowers, butterflies, anything you want is fine. And then in the back, I'm taking my bone folder here and just kind of trying to create a little bit of extra space in all of these pockets since they're pretty tight here. So I'm gonna kind of loosen them up so I can fit some tags and things like that. You may have to trim some ephemera down if it's a little too large, that's fine. Just try to find some pieces that can fit into these pockets, and you want them to be a little bit longer and a little bit taller so that you get kind of a nice layered effect with the small ephemera in the front and the larger ephemera in the back. All right, so just another kind of fun way to create one of these pop-up pockets, but that is gonna be the last one that we make today. I hope that you got some new inspiration and ideas. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next tutorial. Bye!